by simple things like not knowing everything. So yeah, from there, let's start the marketing system. It's easy. And actually, if I haven't already, let's talk about what these different labels mean. So red and green. Red refers to inverse relationships where if one goes up, the other one goes down. And green refers to direct relationships where if something goes up, it also goes up. An example of an inverse relationship would be as the temperature increases past a certain point, your desire to be outside decreases. And a direct relationship would be as the amount you earn increases, the amount you spend typically increases. So yeah, that's basic correlation stuff for you. And the colors of the various nodes refer to configurable, meaning this will vary based on your own specific situation. And you can, to a large extent, control it. However, the yellow, that refers to solvable. And when I say solvable, I mean like if you have the variables, you will have a definite answer. Like you will have the true answer in whatever mathematical like reality that is. If you have all the information you need, you will know the exact answer. It's some of them can be fairly insightful, but some of them are also kind of like average revenue per user. If you have the amount of revenue and the amount of users, you can get average revenue per user. Like it's that kind of stuff. But basically, if you see yellow, that's easy. That's reality. That is not going to be something that will cause you too much trouble. I mean, you might fight to change the result of it, but yeah, it'll be something you can understand pretty easily. The sort of toothpaste colored ones, those are predictable. They are stuff like the weather, where you have something that you know follows trends, and you can sort of see a little bit farther into the future and get a basic idea, but at the end of the day, it is a prediction. You only can do it with so much certainty, and reality may come to pass and be a little bit different. But there are like ways you can predict it. There are models to use for those. And then finally, trackable. Trackable, I hate these. Because trackable is just when a system is so complex, so difficult for you to comprehend, that you kind of have to just narrow it down into a single set of measurements. For example, click-to-play rate. Why would somebody go and click your advertisement more often than less often? And we'll actually be talking about the best ways to advertise in just the next few slides, actually. So hold out for that. But no, like, why does someone choose to click your ad? They might think it looks cool. That's probably it, right? They might think it looks cool. It might stand out to them. I do not know how to make that into a number. If there was an equation for coolness, I certainly would not be allowed near it. Like it is not. This is not an area which I'm qualified in. I may have a degree in game art, a minor in that, but like, I don't know how. I took like one art class. Anyway, anyone who's seen the look of my maps knows that I did not qualify for that. So let's actually go through this model. So this one's pretty basic. Robux per impression is how much you spend times the rate, and the rate itself for how many impressions you get for your spending that varies based on. I've noticed from what I can tell, it's the amount of users currently on the platform. If you have a lot of users on the platform, it seems to get more expensive, and if you have so the weekends are arguably the most expensive time, but also certain holidays, probably seasonal to some extent. But yeah, it's it's simple. It's multiplication. Here's the thing. Spoiler alert, but I'll have a tool for y'all which will do most of this for you. You don't have to figure out most of this. I'm just explaining it to you because, teach a man to fish and all that. But when will we teach a fish to man? Anyway, back on topic. Just come to terms with the stuff I say live. Yeah, so the rate, that'll vary. And sponsorships are weird. They're weird. They're a black box, and I don't really know what to tell you about them, other than the fact that I don't think they save you money. I think that they're a lot more expensive because they'll say, "Hey, people who saw this sponsorship went on and clicked yours a bit later." And I don't that doesn't count. I don't like that. That's not enough information because at the very least, with advertisements, you just know who clicked. Like it's not about who saw it later and then had a change of heart. Like no, it's who clicked the ad, and you can work with that. But saying that someone saw it and then noticed it later, they might not have even seen it. It just appeared on their page and they didn't notice it. Your ad could be horrible, and they just happened to find it at some later point. Like that's not helpful to me. So instead, advertise like don't. I ignore that number because also the same logic would work in the sense of an advertisement where someone might see your advertisement and then play it later. Like, so you're getting that same boost on both sides, theoretically. Ooh, just bumped that. And, yeah, so when you look at it through that lens, advertisements are way better. If you don't actively need the things like platform targeting or targeting certain demographics, I've used the age demographic one a few times just because I know that one thing which can very much influence your preferences for games is how difficult it is. And I've noticed that older players tend to handle more difficult games a bit better. And I've seen in the chat, how do I motivate myself to make quality games, even if most of them fail? Well, I guess two things. The first one is, ideally by the end of this, most of your games won't fail. Like, can you imagine if a AAA game, if every game they released failed? No. Those ones, that industry exists on hitting game after game out of the park. So you can make games successful. And in fact, the reasons games fail at all in the industry are very rarely, when at a professional level, because they aren't fun. It's because they didn't get enough time in testing. It's because they didn't get enough time to work on it. So you'll come to find that many of your games, from now on, hopefully, when they fail, it's not because I don't know how to fix this. It's I know the fix for this, and I can't afford it. Like it either takes too long, it's too difficult, I could start a new project and have better odds. That's the decision you need to make. So, no, your games won't fail in the way that they usually do after this. In terms of motivation, I mean, if you know the path and if you know what you need to do, ideally, in my experience, I lose motivation when I'm stuck, when I can't solve a problem. And this entire presentation is going to be about solving those problems, which are so difficult. And so, yeah. Hopefully, by the end of this, you'll also get the benefit of being able to stay motivated a bit better. Because when a problem's difficult, you'll have a solution. You can solve your problems. You can, at least you can solve the problem of knowing what your problems are. Because right now, a lot of us are, pre-analytics would be, it's like taking a test and you can't even read the questions. So yeah, let's, hopefully with this, you'll be able to focus more on finding out those great answers. And there are some great answers. Check some of the books I referenced earlier. Anyway, CTR, this one's simple. Actually, no, its name is supposed to be CTR. I don't know why I put CTR there. But anyway, daily impressions. This one's easy. How much you spent times the impression rate. In fact, if you look at this equation, we kind of just did that backwards. Yeah. So from there, we get click-through rate. Click-through rate is equal to itself because, like, that's a measuring area. You have to measure for that. I can't give you an equation for what your click-through rate's going to be. If someone figures it out, like, by all means, I think okay. Here's the thing: the blue, anything that says blue, it can be solved. You just need like a neural network. Like that's the reality. You need a neural network, and then you can turn all of those into the toothpaste color. Yeah, so indie games taking advantage of analytics but don't manage to get the same 100% success rate as AAA games. Yeah, so I think one thing to consider for indie devs is that their runways are a lot shorter most of the time. It's a double whammy because all the people in AAA industry, like they are not only the best of the best, they're the best of the best working with the best of the best. If you have a flaw in your approach to games, if you have something that you can't see, an error which you always miss, the person next to you won't miss it. Like when you're working on a team of hyper qualified people, there will be less mistakes made. There will be more people in the room to stop you from making a bad decision. And an indie dev working alone with a bunch of GDC videos, like they're going to be limited. And so in terms of limited resources, like you're limited in both the ideas you have access to, the ideas that will be recommended to you by a colleague, because you don't have those colleagues. You're more or less working alone with some people you'll see every few years at RDC. Yeah, and in terms of but that does not necessarily mean it's hopeless. It just means it's more difficult, but it's also more rewarding. Like if you make the next Minecraft, you're a billionaire. That's the reality. No one in a AAA industry who's actually coding is going to be a billionaire. That's not going to happen. They might get paid handsomely, but their games would have made them billionaires if they had been the one to actually fully make it. And so, yeah, that's the sacrifice you make. Yeah, but I mean, hopefully by the end of this, you'll see that the 100% success rate is never going to be about why is my game failing. It's going to be my game is failing because of these reasons, and I don't know how to fix them. And that deserves another talk of how to fix those. But for now, let's just continue through with the click-through rate. Yeah, and speaking also, let's see. So, game market. We'll actually be talking a little bit more about marketing in a second. But yeah, standing out. Honestly, who here has ever played a simulator game that felt like every other simulator game, and then checked and it's like earning the person millions of dollars? I'm not really convinced standing out matters. Like, there are so many games that exist in the same space. I don't think it's about standing out. I think it's about getting players into your game and then keeping them because you've made a great game. And we'll be looking through this later. There's no part of this equation that takes into account another competitor because it's not about them. It's not about the market. It's not about the audience. It's about you. It's about you making your game. And because of that, well, yeah, let's talk about all that stuff. Yeah, and you can scale up your team if you're making a profit, but that is not always the case. I personally only make enough to support me, and even then, that can be tough some months. Didn't help that I moved to the most expensive city on the planet. Not planet, country. I'm being dramatic. Okay. Anyway, so click-through rate. Yeah, CTR is higher for better ads. I mean, a graphic artist could give you much better talk on how to make good ads. But from what I can tell, the only other information I can really give you is skyscraper ads tend to have higher CTR. It's not always the case. I mean, if it's between the two of these, a good banner ad will do better than a bad skyscraper ad. But yeah, I think skyscraper ads tend to be better in my experience. Daily clicks, that's CTR times daily impression. This is all very simple. But basically, this is the marketing area. This is the advertising wing. This is where you buy new players, because from there, once you have your clicks,